Babylon, splendor and sovereignty in the cradle of civilization. To speak the name Babylon is to invoke both history and legend, reality and dream. It was a city born from riverbanks and mudbrick, but imagined in gold and flame. Babylon was never just a place, it was an idea, a symbol of grandeur, a warning of pride, and a masterpiece of ancient human ingenuity. Set in the fertile embrace of southern Mesopotamia, on the banks of the Euphrates River, Babylon emerged not merely as a city-state, but as a civilizational beacon, a crucible where law, religion, astronomy, and empire converged in majestic splendor. It outlasted kings and conquerors, and though it would fall into ruin, its name would echo through scripture, myth, and prophecy for millennia. Humble origins and divine purpose. The earliest signs of settlement at Babylon date back to the 3rd millennium BCE, during the waning years of the Sumerian city-states. Initially a modest village in the orbit of older powers like Ur and Kish, it was the Akkadians who began to raise Babylon's profile. But it was not until the 18th century BCE, under the reign of a single ruler, Hammurabi, that Babylon would transcend its humble roots and rise as the capital of an empire. Hammurabi, lawgiver of the gods. Hammurabi, art 1792 to 1750 BCE, was not only a military strategist and administrator but a visionary. He expanded Babylon's territory through calculated diplomacy and warfare, transforming the city into the heart of a Mesopotamian empire. But his true legacy lies in the stone tablets he left behind, etched with the Code of Hammurabi, one of the earliest and most comprehensive legal systems in recorded history. The code's prologue invoked the gods, Anu and Enlil, called by name me, Hammurabi, the exalted prince. It covered criminal, civil, commercial, and family law, and established the precedent that law was sacred, not arbitrary. This was sovereignty not by sword alone, but by divine justice. The king was no longer merely a conqueror, he was the guardian of moral and cosmic order. The city of splendor, walls, temples, and the sacred street. By the time of Hammurabi's successors, and later during the Neo-Babylonian period, 7th to 6th century BCE, Babylon had become one of the largest and most magnificent cities of the ancient world. Its architecture was both imposing and symbolic. The city was encircled by vast defensive walls, so wide, it was said that chariots could race atop them side by side. At its center stood the Esagila, the temple of Marduk, the chief deity of Babylon and spiritual protector of the city. Towering above all was the legendary Etemenanke, the ziggurat believed to have inspired the biblical Tower of Babel. This step pyramid, dedicated to Marduk, reached toward the heavens, a physical expression of Babylon's divine ambition. The processional way, paved with rare stones and flanked by majestic lions, led to the Ishtar Gate, a dazzling structure covered in glazed blue tiles and adorned with golden bulls and dragons. To enter Babylon was to enter a theatrical stage of empire, where aesthetics reinforced authority and myth became urban planning. Religion, magic, and the stars. Babylonian religion was complex and deeply woven into daily life. Marduk, who rose to prominence with Babylon itself, became king of the gods, defeating chaos in the mythic Enuma Elish and establishing order, a mirror of the king's role on earth. Temples were more than places of worship. They were economic and intellectual hubs, controlling land, trade, and scribal education. Priests functioned as astronomers, mathematicians, healers, and diviners. Babylonian scholars developed advanced methods of astronomy, tracking planetary movements, eclipses, and the lunar calendar with astonishing accuracy. This was not superstition. It was early science, driven by a belief that the cosmos reflected divine will. To read the stars was to understand the gods' intentions. Nebuchadnezzar II, the architect of immortality. The name Nebuchadnezzar II, art 605 to 562 BCE, is forever entwined with Babylon's golden age. Under his reign, the city reached its peak of architectural splendor and political power. Nebuchadnezzar undertook massive construction projects, restoring temples, expanding canals, and building palaces that glittered with imported cedar and precious stones. He reinforced the city's defenses, beautified the Ishtar Gate, and may have commissioned one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world, the Hanging Gardens of Babylon, said to have been built for his queen, who missed the green hills of her homeland. Though scholars debate the existence and exact location of the gardens, the myth itself reveals the aesthetic and emotional ambitions of Babylonian kings to build not only power but paradise. Cultural prestige and imperial legacy. Babylon became a center of literacy and literature. Its scribes copied and preserved older Sumerian and Akkadian texts. They refined mathematics, devising systems that would later influence Greek and Islamic scholars. Their base 60 system still lingers in how we measure time and angles. But Babylon was not merely a scholarly haven. It was a symbol of imperial continuity. Even after its conquest by Cyrus the Great of Persia in 539 BCE, Babylon retained its cultural prestige. Later rulers, from Alexander the Great to the Parthians, saw ruling from Babylon as a mark of legitimacy. Decline and immortality through myth. As power shifted westward, Babylon eventually declined. Earthquakes and invasions wore down its walls. Its canals silted. Its temples fell silent. Yet the city never truly vanished. In the Book of Revelation, Babylon became the symbol of decadence and corruption, mother of harlots and of earth's abominations. In later Islamic and European thought, it stood for lost knowledge, mystery, and forbidden power. This transformation, from living city to mythic cipher, is itself a testament to Babylon's impact. No other ancient city has lived so vividly in the human imagination. Legacy, the sovereign dream of civilization. Babylon's sovereignty was more than territorial. It was spiritual, intellectual, and aesthetic. It gave the world one of the first codified legal systems, a structured and bureaucratic urban society, a model of sacred kingship and state religion, innovations in astronomy, math, literature, and architecture, a mythic afterlife that continues to shape how we tell stories of ambition, hubris, and empire. Babylon reminds us that splendor and sovereignty are not always eternal in brick, but they are immortal in story.